What if I told you that everything you think you know about problem solving is wrong? In 2002, Elon Musk wanted to send rockets to Mars, and each one of them costed $65 million. Everyone told Elon that's just the way it is, but he did not believe them. He believed in himself. He believed in his mental models. He used a mental model that Aristotle invented 2300 years ago and reduced the costs of rocket by 90%. Today, I'm going to teach you that exact mental model. It's called first principles thinking, and it will change how you solve problems forever. What is first principles thinking? First principles thinking is the practice of breaking down the most complex problems into their most basic and fundamental truths, and then building solutions from the ground up. This term was coined by Aristotle 2300 years ago. He defined the first principle as the first basis from which a thing is known, meaning a basic assumption that cannot be deduced any further. In simple terms, instead of copying others, you question yourself for everything. You break the problem down to its irreducible components, and then you build from scratch. That's how first principle thinking works. It's how scientists think, it's how innovators think, and it's how you should think if you want the next breakthrough results. Here's the biggest problem. Most people think by analogy. We look at what has been done before and just do it with slight variations. We say things like, we do it this way because it's always been done this way. Nobody's ever done that, so it must not be good. Rockets cost $65 million because that's the market rate. This is called reasoning by analogy. And this is the default for 99% of the human beings. You just accept what others have done. But that's not how innovators, scientists, and disruptors think. But here's the danger. When you think by analogy, every limitation of the previous solution becomes your limitation. Every cost of the previous solution becomes your cost. And you will never know if it's necessary or just useless. You are not innovating. You are copying. And copying can never ever lead to breakthrough results. Now, let me show you the alternative. First principle thinking. Elon Musk explains it best. I think it's important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. First principles is a kind of physics way of looking at the world. You boil things down to the most fundamental truths and say, okay, what are we sure is true? And then reason up from there. Here's what this means in practice. Identify what you want to achieve. So in Elon's case, it was how can I make rockets cheaper? So Elon asked, what is a rocket made up of? Aerospace grade aluminium, titanium, copper, and carbon fiber. What is the value of these in the commodity market? The answer shocked him. The materials only costed 2% of the typical rocket prices. That meant the remaining 98% was due to inefficiencies, outdated processes, and industry assumptions, not physics. Let me walk you through how Musk exactly applied this to SpaceX. Step 1. He identified the real problem. Rockets were too expensive to send to Mars. Step 2. He questioned the fundamental assumption that rockets costed $65 million. Step 3. He broke the problem down to first principles. What is a rocket actually made up of? Raw material. What do those materials cost? About 2% of the typical rocket prices. So why the 98% markup? Industry inefficiencies, assembly processes, and single-use design. Step 4. He rebuilt from the ground up. SpaceX would source raw materials directly. SpaceX would manufacture in-house. SpaceX would question, why can't rockets be reusable? And the result? SpaceX cut 90% of the costs from 65 million to 6.5 million. They developed rockets that land themselves and can be launched again. They made space travel accessible in ways that the aerospace industry never imagined. That was not incremental improvement. That was 10x innovation, and it's only possible through first principles thinking. Now let me give you the exact framework to apply first principles thinking to any problem. Step 1. Identify and question assumptions. List every assumption you have about the problem. Then challenge each one of them. Ask, why is this necessary? Why do we need it? Can't we survive without it? Can't we build something without it? Question each and every need. Step 2. Deconstruct to fundamental truths. Break the problem down to its basic and the most simplest form. Keep asking why. Why is the golden keyword in first principles thinking. You have to ask why to each and everything. Each and everything. Until you reach irreducible truths. And step 3. Rebuild from the ground up. When you reach the basic thing, start building from the ground up. just like Elon did with titanium, aerospace grade aluminium, copper, carbon fiber, and all the raw materials. This is where real innovation happens. Here's a real metaphor to make you understand this. A cook follows recipes, but the chef, he creates new recipes. He does not depend on the world to make good food. He invents, he creates new recipes based on the knowledge he has, based on the fundamental truths he knows. The cook copies what works, but the chef understands why it works. The cook makes incremental changes, but the chef, he reinvents from scratch. The chef is the one who creates new recipes, and the cook uses them. He does not invent them on his own. A cook can be lost without a recipe, but the chef can create it from raw ingredients. The cook is only aware of how, but the chef knows why. So be the chef, not the cook. Let me give you a practical tool that you can use today. The 5 whys. Children are natural first principles thinker. They ask why relentlessly. You must have noticed in your childhood, you asked your parents why to everything. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? Why should this exist? Why do we need this? Every child is a first principles thinker. And that's the reason you learn the most in your childhood. Example, let's apply first principles thinking to your procrastination. First, why am I procrastinating? Because I feel overwhelmed. Why do I feel overwhelmed? Because the first step feels too big. Why does it feel too big? Because I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. So why am I unsure? Because I'm afraid of producing mediocre work. Why am I afraid? Because I believe my work reflects my self-worth. Root cause discovered. The problem is not laziness. It's fear of judgment tied to identity. You are not lazy. You are just afraid of people calling you mad, stupid because of the thing you have built. It's not that you are lazy. You just fear. You just fear what other people will think. You are just afraid of other people's opinion on you. The solution is not a productivity hack. It's addressing that fear. This way you can fix every problem in your life. Let's talk about the key takeaways from the video. First, question everything. I have repeated this like 100 times in the video. Question each and every need. Ask why to everything. Second, go deeper. Don't stop at the first answer. You just saw that in the procrastination example. We went deeper. We did not just stop on the first answer. You have to go to the extent that you can't ask why anymore. To the extreme irreducible form. Third, mental energy investment. First principles thinking is very hard. That's why most people don't use it. It consumes our mental energy a lot. I have been using it for like 8-10 months now. Fourth, start small. Start by applying first principles thinking to your daily life. Practice. Break down a coffee mug. Question why things are designed the way they are. 5. Rebuild boldly. Once you have fundamental truths, don't be afraid to create radically different solutions. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself. And you are the easiest person to fool. If this video helped you think differently, hit the like button, share it with your friends who need it. Now, go break something down and build it better from scratch. See you in the next one.